This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Ben Ari. I only wish my mother was here to be able to hear that. Thank you for the kind introduction. You're very fortunate to have Rosh Yeshiva, who's concerned for every aspect of the development of the Talmidim, the learning, the Hadracha, the Hashkafa, the Midos, and with such dedication, I'm happy to see my Yedid Neman, Rabbi Sakalov, who is also a tremendous Maggid Shiur, not only here, but also in the 5 towns in my neighborhood. I know a lot of people who are Nene from his Lamdus. I see my good friend, Rabbi Yirmiyah. So, welcome. And it's a very great pleasure to be here today, especially for myself. You know, when you're dealing with people who are working all day, so you're in an atmosphere not necessarily where people are focused on the proper emphasis for the Yimei Elul. So it's a chizuk for me to be with B'nai Torah, to understand what the Yom Naram are, and what we need to be focused on as we approach the Yom Naram Habam Aleinu L'Taiva. Let me share with you a very important question. And this question cuts to the chase of understanding and appreciating these very important days that lay ahead of us. If I was mapping out the calendar and I was making up, scheduling the Yom Naram, let me tell you how I would do it. I would make something called a day where we go to shul and we fast and we do tshuva and we wipe out all of our chatan and we have a clean slate. This way, as they say in America, we'll be sitting pretty when the Yom Hadin comes, when a Rosh Hashanah would come, where Rebbeinu Shalom judges us, and everybody knows that the judgment is based on one thing and one thing only. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, the Rambam paskins, that on Rosh Hashanah, Rebbeinu Shalom weighs a person's mitzvahs and averos. If you have more mitzvahs and averos, you'll have a good, happy, successful year, and vice versa. The Gemara says, Chas v'shalom, a person has more averos than mitzvahs, they will not be written and sealed for Chayim. And even though the Ran asks, but we see there are people who have more averos than mitzvahs, and it's not so, and we see people with more mitzvahs than averos, and it's not so, Rabbi Petterberg says we are obligated to have emunah shlema, that in roiv cases, and 90% of the time, the way it operates on Rosh Hashanah is if you have more mitzvahs than averos, you're going to have a good year, and if you don't have more mitzvahs than averos, chas v'shalom, not so. The order of the Yom Naram seems so backward. Doesn't make any sense. Why in the world would Rebbeinu Shalom judge us? Now that I judged you based on all the averos that you've accumulated from last year, okay, now we'll give you an opportunity to get them off. So cruel. Why doesn't Rebbeinu Shalom, whose midah is chesed, who only wants our benefit, who's only looking for our best interest, why wouldn't he first have a Yom Kippur, wipe away all the chataim? This way, we come on a Yom Hadin, we'll be sitting there with 100 mitzvahs, no averos, and we'll be nichtav v'nechtam la'alter l'chaim toim l'shalom. What's the yashrus? What's the chachma in giving us a Yom Hadin and only then wiping away the averos? Says Rabbi Petterberg, this is a question that always bothered him, and he heard it from none other than Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. And answering this question will give us the proper perspective, not only for Yom Naram, but for life in general. We're going to have to condense it. I don't want to be marif, but let's just get one thing out there. If you look at this world, one thing you notice right away is that there is plan and purpose in Brias HaOlam, in the creation of the world. For example, there used to be a thing many years ago, I don't know if you ever heard of it, there used to be something called fruits. People used to eat something called fruits. Some people, you could still go to a supermarket and you could pick it up. It's a fruit, it grows on a tree. There's something called an apple, I don't know. Nowadays, people don't really, it's not negea so much, but let's say an apple. So, you look at an apple. The apple is it's painted red. Very nice. But yet, if you would look at that apple before the apple was ripe, the apple would be green. It would be unattractive and inconspicuous. Nothing would pull you to the apple. You wouldn't notice the apple. And in fact, the tree is holding on tight to that apple. And as soon as that apple ripens, all of a sudden it becomes conspicuous, and it becomes attractive, and the tree loosens its grip on the apple. Obviously, whoever created that tree understands that there are people who could appreciate color, who are attracted by color, who will now notice the fruit, and whoever made this tree did not want us to eat it before it was ripe, because if we would eat an unripe apple, we would get a stomach ache. And now that the apple is ripe, whoever programmed the tree wants us to eat it, is calling us to eat it, is attracting our attention, and we go eat the apple. That means whoever made the tree did a really good job. Plan and purpose and chesed. If you look at every aspect of Brias Ha'olam, there's tremendous chachma. An apple is red, an orange is orange, a banana is yellow, and yet all of these fruits, before they're ripe, they're green, you don't notice it, you don't pay attention to it, Hashem doesn't want you to eat it, because it's not healthy yet, it's not ripe. See, that's very interesting, because, now I get it. That's why a red pepper is red, because Hashem is attracting our attention. So then, I have a question. The watermelon, why doesn't it have a nice color? After all, when it's ripe, it tastes really good. You know why? Because the Creator understands that what's going to happen if you would be attracted to that watermelon like you are to an apple, you're going to take the watermelon, you're going to cut it open, you're going to eat a fifth of the watermelon, and the rest of it is going to go to waste. Because a watermelon is food for a number of people. So whoever programmed the watermelon said, hey, wait a second. I know I want to attract the attention of the eater when it comes to the apple or some of the other fruits that we mentioned, but any fruit, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, which has more than one portion, I'm going to give it a bland color on the outside. It engenders patience. This way, when you see it, you won't cut it open right away. You'll bring it home to your table, and only then you're going to open it up, and then everybody will enjoy it together. Say, but wait a second, a potato is for one person, so why didn't the maker paint it a nice color? The answer is because he doesn't want you to eat it, because a potato has to be cooked. If you notice, every detail of creation is with tremendous plan, tremendous purpose, and whoever did it, hit it bullseye, got it exactly right. Even the human being, tremendous wonders in the creation of man. For example, what do you like to eat for supper? Admit it. Steak. Men like steak. People think, I ate a tuna steak that's exactly like, it tastes exactly like a steak. Don't fool yourself. Men like meat, right? So imagine you have a guy, he's eating a steak, he's eating a lamb chop, and his stomach acids, which are the most powerful acids in the world, if you put stomach acid on the table, it goes right through the table. It will digest the table. And you have a guy eating the stomach of another animal, and his stomach acids are dissolving the protein of the animal's stomach and not dissolving his stomach. How's that possible? Who programmed the stomach that the acids of the stomach could dissolve a different stomach and not that stomach? An amazing thing. Everybody knows the blood goes to the heart. The heart pumps the blood to the lungs. The lungs take in the oxygen. And now that the blood has the oxygen, it goes back to the heart, and then the heart pumps it to the rest of the body. The problem is, what does a baby in their mother's womb do? A baby is not able to breathe. The lungs are not operational. So how does the baby get oxygen? The answer is it doesn't need to breathe. It's the oxygen of the mother that goes into the child. So now the question is, so what's going to happen when the heart sends the blood to the lungs? The lungs are not working. Guess what? Whoever made this baby actually made a hole in a baby's heart so that instead of the blood in the baby going to the lungs, it goes from one atrium to the next, and it doesn't go to the lungs. Who made that hole there? Who knew that a baby doesn't breathe, so there needs to be a hole? So now the question is, how long could a person survive with a hole in their heart? Efshar l'hiskayim v'lamoid l'fanecha afilu sha echas. So whoever created this child made a phenomenon that the second the child comes out into this world and takes a deep breath, it creates tremendous pressure in the chest of the child, and the whole seal's shut forever. So whoever made this kid got it right. Do you need a cardiac unit? I mean, this type of surgery would take 12 hours. You have to put someone out. It would be sakonas nefashos. God said, don't worry. I figured out a mechanism. You just take a breath and seal shut. But there seems to be one aspect of creation which is an abysmal failure. And that is human personality. Why do I say that? You know, if you give a cow enough grass and a shady spot under a tree, the cow will be happy lenetzach netzachim. And yet, you give a human being all the money in the world, all the pleasure in the world, everything that he could possibly want, a human being will never be happy. There's this constant empty feeling, constant searching, yearning, striving. People in the East, they're traveling to the West. People in the West, they're traveling to the East. Everybody's looking, searching, missing, empty. All the problems of mankind, all the addictions, all the dependencies, all the depressions, all the anxieties are all rooted in this phenomenon that man is never happy. You know, if you would look, I don't know if it's the right audience to say this to, but you know, you're adults. You know how many addictions there are? There's a list of like tens of thousands of addictions. There are thousands just for the letter A. You know, alcohol, aerosol can smelling. There are people who are addicted to their deodorant. You could not approval. There are people who are addicted to approval. If you're addicted to that, do not become a rabbi. Okay? There are thousands. Where does it come from? Why? Whoever made man seemed to have made a terrible, abysmal mistake. Why? I mean, whoever made the world seemed to have gotten it head on every other detail of creation. And yet when it comes to creation of man, it's creation gone haywire. There's so many miserable people out there. Why didn't God make us like a cow? If Hashem would have made us like a cow, then all we would need is AC, a little food, and we could sit in one place and we'll be happy forever and ever. What happened on that sixth day of creation? Everything went well on day 1, on day 2, on day 3, on day 4, on day 5, even on day 6 until Adam was created. And what happened? Did the Creator take a break prematurely and sort of, chas v'shalom, mess up the creation of man? And this is really Yiddishkeit 101. What I'm going to tell you today is something we all know. The 7 most important words, in my opinion, of Yiddishkeit. It's the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Ha'olam hazeh doina leproizdar b'fnei ha'olam haba. That this world is a hallway before the world to come. To the extent that a person understands that, they will be successful in this world. To the extent that a person thinks that this world is where it's at, that we're going to live 70, 80, 90 years, and then it's all over, to that extent, one's existence will be a failure. Meaning, the more a person integrates and inculcates this concept, the more successful they'll be in this world. And the less aware a person is of this concept, the more this world will be a disaster. Because if a person feels that this world is where it's at, I'm going to eat, I'm going to enjoy myself, I'm going to get pleasure, I'm going to make money, I'm going to get honor, I'm going to really live it up, this world is the biggest failure of any experiment that was ever conducted. And to the extent that a person feels and realizes that this world is only a way to prepare for Olam Haba, this world will be the greatest success. You know, why did God create us with this unhappiness and uneasiness and anxiousness and emptiness? Where does it come from? Let me explain something to you. This is not my observation. This was one of the earliest observations of man. Shlomo HaMelech observed Adam, and you know what Shlomo said about Adam? V'gam hanefesh lo yisimale. that the soul will never be satisfied. And Shlomo HaMelech gives the following mashal. So there's this villager, this caveman, this really rough, gruff guy. He lives in some hut in the forest, and he lives in a one-room hut, and he marries the princess. And he takes the princess back into his hut, and she's looking around, and she's thinking to herself, this does not look like the palace. What in the world is going on here? And he's trying to make her happy. So he serves her his best version, his best delicacies. He takes out his pot, and he's cooking up his lentils with a few beans, and he serves it to her in this grimy bowl, his best dish. And she's looking at it, are you kidding me? I'm going to eat that? It's this. And he said, what is it? Do you need music? No problem. He takes out like his cymbals and his metal spoon, and he starts banging. And she runs out. He said, what? This is terrible. This is not what I bargained for. What was she missing? She had food. She had music. The answer is she's from the palace. She's used to the finest delicacies. She's used to the most sophisticated music. She's used to the most beautiful tapestries. And now this guy is giving her a cheap version of what real pleasure is. It says in Mesilas Yesharim, what is our most valuable commodity? What is the most important thing we have? Our most valuable commodity is our neshama. You know why it's our most valuable commodity? Because it's a piece of the Ribbon Shalom. It's the Chelek Eloka Mimal. It's a piece of the divine. It comes from the palace. The problem is when the neshama comes down to this world, it's overqualified. And the neshama is crying, and it's longing, and it's yearning, and it's empty. You know why? Because there is nothing in this world that gives any satisfaction to the neshama. And the body sort of realizes that there's something wrong over here. There's something so missing, something so empty, something so... And the body understands it's the neshama crying out, give me more, give me more, give me more. And the body says, no problem. What is it? You need a better car? I'll get you the newest model. You need more money? You need to work more? You need more honor? The body doesn't recognize what the neshama is calling for. The body thinks it's the porridge. You need a little more garlic in the beans, a little more money, a little more onions. And the body doesn't realize the neshama, it's not the garlic that's missing. Everything is missing. Mesilas Yesharim tells us that the neshama eina oheves olam hazeh klum. The neshama does not like this world at all. No, moyeses boy. The neshama is disgusted by this world. The neshama is, give me enjoyment from the palace. And there's only one thing in this world that the neshama gets satisfaction from. Torah in this one. The only thing that can make the neshama happy are those old delicacies that it remembers from the palace. Divine pleasure. Divine delicacies. The Ribbon Shalom created us with this overqualified neshama. And this is the key to life. You have this overqualified soul. And it's yearning, and it's thirsting, and it's empty. And if you recognize what it's looking for, then this world will be the greatest success. You use your life well, productively. You'll acquire Torah. You'll acquire mitzvahs. You'll accomplish what you need to in this world. Mirz Hashem, you'll have a beautiful family. You'll have parnasa. You'll be able to be kaveh itim la Torah. You'll be able to work on your midas. You'll be able to be kind of yirah shamayim. And that drive, the emptiness of the neshama, will fuel your success. In other words, if a person harnesses and uses and takes that yearning of the neshama, that will be the drive that fuels one's success in this world. But if a person lets that drive remain unidentified, not understanding, what is my emptiness? What am I missing? What am I looking for? What am I yearning? it could bring, chas v'shalom, utter disaster. The Torah tells us, Rebbeinu Shalom says, I give you today life and death. Uvacharta b'chayim, choose life. What does the Rebbeinu Shalom mean, I give you life and death? How does the Rebbeinu Shalom give us what he's putting on the table? Two different things, life and death. Why would God serve us death? The answer is very simple. God just gives us one thing. He's giving us a neshama. The neshama is an engine. It wants, it craves, it desires. What are you going to do with the neshama? Don't ignore the neshama. Everyone's neshama is calling out. Everyone's neshama is crying out. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, if you make the mistake that this world is where it's at, I want to live, I want to be healthy, I want to make money, I want to be happy, then the way Hashem made the Yemei Hadin is cruel. It's backward. After all, why would He give us a Rosh Hashanah and only then forgive our Averos after the fact? I mean, I want to have a healthy year, I want to have a happy year, I want to make a lot of money. So give me a Yom Kippur, I'll get off all my Chatam, and then I'll walk away from a Rosh Hashanah with an incredible year. But that's because we live in error. We think this world is where it's at. But the Rebbeinu Shalom understands that this world is just a hallway. It's just temporary. It's just a place of preparation. Says Rebbeinu Shalom, the main thing is Yom Kippur. The goal is Yom Kippur. Everything is about Yom Kippur. It's all about eternity. Mitzvahs and Averos. Yom Kippur will determine what our Olam Haba will look like. The only thing is, if Hashem would first give us a Yom Kippur wouldn't mean anything to us. Imagine you tell a guy, okay, right now it's the middle of the year, you're going to have a day, that day is going to determine your afterlife. What's afterlife? What are mitzvahs? What are averos? You mean I have to think about what I'm doing? You have to think about what everything is all about? I'm too busy, I got to work, I got to learn, I got to do this, I got to do that. So the Rebbeinu Shalom, so to speak, has to slowly develop our appreciation and lead up to Yom Kippur. So he first gives us a Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is very relevant to all of us. Rosh Hashanah resonates with everybody. Everybody knows what being alive is. Everybody knows what good health is. Everybody knows what money is. So Hashem says, do me a favor. You have no connection to Yom Kippur. You're not going to have any clue what Yom Kippur is all about. So we go to Shul on Rosh Hashanah, and we worry about what we normally think about the whole year, and that is this world. But once we've come to first base, and we have a Rosh Hashanah, and we've sort of got into the mode of thinking about ourselves, and thinking about life, and thinking about Torah mitzvahs, then we're able to, so to speak, reach the true level, and understanding that this is all a game until we get to Yom Kippur. The focus is Yom Kippur. The focus is eternity. The focus is the spiritual repertoire of mitzvahs and averos. Yes, if this world was all about Olam Hazeh, then the order of the Yom Naram would be completely backward. But this world is not about Olam Hazeh. This world is about Olam Haba. And if a person recognizes and appreciates the emptiness of this world intrinsically, they appreciate the kindness of Hashem, how He set up the system for us. That Rosh Hashanah is the way that we prepare for the greatest day of the year. The greatest day of the year is Yom Kippur. And this should be really a paradigm and a preparation for our entire lives. We live in a world where this principle is never spoken about. Not only is never spoken about, everything that comes, that you see, that you hear, in the world is telling you the opposite. Every billboard, every sign, every restaurant, every phenomenon that you encounter is coming to tell you, Olam Hazeh, it's all about the here and the now. And we have 40 days to try to work on ourselves, to recognize, to feel, to integrate, to inculcate this principle. Olam Hazeh, doina v'freizar b'fnei Olam Haba. So I wish all of you, first of all, a tremendously successful year in your learning, in your shamayim, in your studies, in your work, in everything you hope for. And be'ezus Hashem should illuminate our eyes, that we could appreciate this concept. And Hashem should be mevarich all of us with a shnas, chayim, v'shalom, lanu, l'chol Yisrael. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.